Hey guys, it's Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever's going on. I'm going to ask you guys in this video to do my little trick where you speed it up to 1.5 and you can hear everything I'm saying, because this is going to be a long one. This is a question. I had asked you guys to post questions down below of what you wanted, what topics you wanted, and everything like that. And this was a question, and continue, please, down below to post questions on what topics you want to hear about, about what's going on in the world, or, I mean, anything and everything you can think of. But this one was about my religion. People asked me about I'm going to give you my testimony story, basically, and how I got to where I am, because people were asking me about my religion. And if you guys remember, before I had my wall cross, which is now going upstairs, I do have a cross up here which looks crooked on camera, which is really weird. I don't understand it, because when I look at it from over there, it's not crooked. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with that. They all sort of look crooked, like everything looks slanted. So I'm sorry if that makes you seasick. I don't know what's going on. I have a candle review, cold sniff review coming up before this video, but I do ask you guys to get your popcorn or listen to me like a podcast. I know a lot of you guys, and for some reason my QuickTime player is being laggy. I'm not sure why, but I probably have too many tabs open on my computer. Get some popcorn, speed it up to 1.5, and just listen if you want. I know a lot of people do that, like on their way to work or whatever the deal is. You don't necessarily have to see my mug, because it's first thing in the morning, and I got my second vaccination yesterday, so I woke up this morning feeling okay. Got a little headache. I got to drink more water, I think, and my arm's a tad sore. Not as sore as it was for the first vaccination. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm really kind of surprised, a little tired. But I just thought I'd come on here and have a chat before I take my nap. Because I think I'm going to take a nap. I think I'm going to lay down and take a nap. Because I feel kind of feverish, but I don't have a fever. When you get that headache. But I've been having a lot of sinus. You can hear it in my voice. My nose is all stuffy. I've been having a lot of sinus. It's allergy season too, so. But I want to tell you guys about my testimony. I want to tell you guys about how I came back to the Lord, and a little bit about my religious sort of journey, or my journey with the Lord throughout my life, really. So it's going to be a long one, guys. So buckle up for safety. And I hope you guys like this one, because there were a couple people who asked about it. So, and maybe it can give you some inspiration. I don't know. But I think sharing your testimony is always really, really important. So my journey started in 1970 on March 14th, the day that I was born. So I know that sounds really, really weird. But it did. Because when I was born, I was 1 pound, 3 ounces. And I was Hartford Hospital's first miracle baby. Meaning, and I'm going to be playing with this, so I hope it doesn't really come through. This little hair clip. I was Hartford Hospital's first miracle baby. And it was the first time in history of Hartford Hospital that they ever saw a baby 1 pound, 3 ounces. I was 3 months premature. My mom fell in an elevator and ruptured her placenta and almost bled to death. And had a near-death experience at that time. And let me do this so I'm not playing with. There we go. So I'm not playing with it. She had a near-death experience. So she's really been rooted in her faith ever since. I mean, she always was, but really since then, like, yes, she has. So I was born 1 pound, 3 ounces. I was not expected to live. I gotta find them from my mom, and I'll have to show you. She thinks I'm the most beautiful baby on the face of the earth. The first time they could take a picture of me when I was out, without all the tubes and everything in me, I think I was like 2 months old, and I was still, or maybe a month old, and I was still like just a little peanut. Like I was a peanut. I was I looked like a baby bird. You ever like see a newborn baby bird? And their skin almost looks translucent. You can see like all the veins in their eyelids. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, look up a little baby bird, you know, newborn baby bird or whatever. Like that's what I looked like. And so every time she shows me that picture, I laugh because she's like, you were so beautiful. And I'm like, I get it from her perspective because here's your child that wasn't expected to live. But, you know, I did, so it was wonderful. But they said that I was going to be, if I lived, which they didn't, I'll get a little more into the story, but they said that if I lived, I would be in a vegetative state my whole life. I wasn't gonna walk, I wasn't gonna talk, I'd have brain damage, I might still have brain damage, I don't know, no, kidding, I don't, but some people would argue that fact, but no, I don't. And basically what they did, they told my dad that we can save one or the other. We can save your wife or we can save your daughter. And if we, you know, were hedging our bets, we would bet, not bet. I mean, no doctor would say it like that, but basically my interpretation of it is we would save your wife. So like you can't have both, basically is what they told him. Because we just don't have the resources. Your wife is in a critical state. Your daughter's in a critical state. And we just don't have the resources to, you know, save both at this time. Like it was both very, very critical, you know, life or death situations. And my dad, being the Catholic he is, I was raised Catholic, went down to the chapel. My name was supposed to be Casey Lynn. That was originally what my name was supposed to be. And he went down to the chapel and he prayed. And he basically just said, you know, Lord, don't make me choose. Like, this is too hard. Don't put this upon me. Do not make me choose between my wife or my daughter. Like, that's just, you know, that's impossible. And he said, Lord, I promise you that if you save both, that I will name my daughter after you. And here I am, 51 years later. And yeah, and so, and my name is Christine, and Christine Lee. And so that's where, you know, my name came from. So, I mean, if that's not a testimony within itself, I mean, I think that's the biggest testimony of my life, to be 100% honest with you. It really is. Now, of course, obviously being that young, you know, you don't have a come to God moment at you know, when you're as a newborn, you know. And even when I would hear the stories, it was miraculous. And I saw the newspaper clippings because they did articles about me and every, you know, a year later and everything like that and stuff. And I was on the front page of the Hartford Courant. I think it was a year and a half after my birth. And my mom still has them. It really is a crazy, crazy story because, you know, the medical field was not what it is now. You know, I mean, science is just so amazing that, you know, it's just, we've come leaps and bounds. But so when you're that young, obviously you don't have a come to Jesus moment. Like, that's just not, you know, what, I mean, you don't even remember it. You know, obviously I don't remember those times. I can kind of picture myself, though, in the incubator, which is really weird. So I don't know if, like, that's a memory that the Lord implanted in me or not. But, or if it's just something that, you know, sometimes you see stuff on television or whatever, and, you know, it gets implanted in your head and whatever, and you think that's a repressed memory or something. But regardless. So that was that's like my biggest testimony. But you know, that's not your come to Jesus moment, obviously. But I was a miracle baby. And the Lord performed a miracle. And, you know, I went through many years of my life up until I was about 18. I would say 16. I was like the perfect kid. You know, I mean, I don't want to say I was the perfect kid. I was not, of course I was not perfect, but in everybody's eyes in my family, I kind of set the bar really high because I was just so well behaved and I was so polite and I was so respectful and everything like that. I was not your typical teenager. And even when I, you know, at, I think it was 15 years old, I got my first boyfriend, love of my life, dated him all through high school, up until I was 19. And, you know, he was a raging alcoholic, you know, and I went to tons of parties and everything like that, but I never drank. I never did any of that stuff because I had to take care of him. You know, I was really nobody was an adult at that time, but I was kind of the adult in the situation. I just had to make sure that he got home okay and everything like that. Which, looking back on it, I mean, I don't regret anything. It's just how that relationship progressed, and during that time, I was his first, he was my first, you know, sexual experience, and, you know, it was almost like he turned around and it was like, well, that was good, so this would probably be good, and so would this, or this, and this, and this, and, like, so he cheated on me all the time throughout our whole relationship, and I never gave up on him. Like, we would break up here and there, but we'd always get back together, and this went on for probably 25 years, on and off. I mean, I was married and divorced a couple times in between that, but for some reason, we always came back to each other, and in my naivety, I thought that was fate, but he continued to be an addict. He progressed from alcohol to pills and stuff like that. So, and, you know, so it would, I don't know, this has really nothing, it kind of does. It really has nothing to do with the story, but it kind of does. So it kind of started out my chain of needing to take care of people, guys that I thought I deserved or that I wanted were guys that I could save, right? The guys that I could rescue, the guys that I could save, the underdogs, the ones with the problems. Like, I can fix them. I can make them better. I can, you know, that relationship kind of set me up for a lifetime. And when I say a lifetime, I'm talking my whole life, every single relationship after that. I mean, I don't think I had one healthy relationship after that. Besides my ex-fiance, like, I would say, like, that was probably the healthiest relationship. It started off that way anyway. I didn't have to save, I mean, he didn't drink either. I didn't have to save him from anything. So it you know, it wasn't really, in that sense, the way, you know, but, so then when I was about 25, so I met my first husband, and he was in a band, and I got into that band scene or whatever, and oh my gosh, we drank, like, I was 19 when I had Chelsea, so right after the breakup with my first boyfriend, I met my first ex-husband, my daughter's father, and, yeah, he was in a band, so the band scene, and the clubs and everything, and, like, it just, staying at other people's houses, I mean, really crack dens, honestly. I mean, I'm not saying anyone smoked crack there, because I don't know. I've never been into drugs, like alcohol, absolutely 100%, but like drugs and stuff like that, no. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, because let me tell you, alcohol is horrendous. I am so happy that my son does not drink. My daughter drinks socially, as far as I know, but she does not. She doesn't drink. And hopefully that was from what they saw from me. I don't know, to be honest with you, but it was horrible. And, you know, just waking up in places that were, like just places I didn't belong. Like, I just didn't belong there. That was not how I was raised. It was not, it was just, but, you know, when you're in the throes of addiction, it's horrible. So, and I started doing that kind of just to go along with the crowd. You know, I wanted to be accepted by these group of people that, you know, I mean, he was in with. And so I just thought that, yeah, like that was the thing to do. And it was horrible. I mean, you know, was I in the throes of addiction at that point? Not really. I did drink. But what I remember from that point was I was very rebellious. I remember I moved out of my parents' house, because they didn't approve of him. So I moved out of their house to go stay, like I said, kind of in this crack den. We're going to call it crack den. It was just it was a flop house. There was a lot of cocaine going on and stuff. I mean, I didn't do it. He did, but it was not a good situation. I had a wonderful car that I had gotten, and by the time I got out of that place, it was wrecked. And not from me, but I would let anybody and everybody take my car. Nobody had a car. Nobody had, you know, I was kind of the one who always bought the alcohol. I had a really good job at the time at the Attorney General's office. So it's like, I bought the alcohol. You know, nobody had a car, so I always let people just hand people my keys and stuff like that. But it was really not a good situation. And then from there, that turned into an abusive relationship. He cheated also. That turned into an abusive relationship, and I divorced him. And then I got involved. Then I started working at a pool hall, which that was kind of in the throes of my addiction, because at that point now I was a single mom, right? And I mean, that marriage lasted only 2 years. That was it. And he didn't even show up for the divorce. It was the easiest divorce ever, let me tell you. I mean, if your ex does not show up, like that makes everything so easy. So I got full custody of my daughter, and we lived in an apartment. So like he didn't have anything when he came in. He didn't have anything when he left. Like that was just basically it. I was able to easily change my name. Do you want your name back? Yes. You know, my maiden name. Yeah. Okay, fine. And then after that, I started working in a bar. It was a bar. I mean, there was a bar in it, but it was a pool hall. And they had 18 and younger. And then, because at that time, the drinking age was 18. So it was like 17 and under, and then 18 and up rooms. So as far as the drinking goes, and like you could, the 21 and overs could be in with the main room with the younger people, but you had to card them and everything like that. So, but I, in the throes of my addiction, because at that point I was in the throes of my addiction, I was undiagnosed. I have mental health issues, as you guys know, and I've talked about it many times on this channel. And I was undiagnosed, and I was self-medicating, and I was a single mom, and things were hard, and things were rough, and that first divorce was horrible. I mean, I really, or marriage, you know, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I thought, looking back on it, did I know that was the person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with? Like, no. But I thought I could fix him. I could make it better, but he didn't do anything to be fixable. Like, it just wasn't. He didn't want to be fixed. So here I am working in this club or this pool hall, whatever, bartending and waitressing. And I mean, it was, and we could drink on the job. Our boss let us drink on the job. Like, it was, a lot of times we were testing out drinks. He would make new drinks and we would test them out and everything like that. And so it was sort of like a free-for-all. Like, that was my social life, because, you know, you would go in at, say, 2 o'clock and work until 1 or 2, you know, when the bar closed or whenever that was. And, like, so you really didn't, and then you would sleep, and then you'd wake up and do it again the next day. So there wasn't really a social life. I mean, all my friends were from the pool hall. They either worked there or they were customers. And I was really in the throes of my addiction. On the days that I was not working, I still went there. That's where I went. That's where everybody I knew was. I did a lot of horrible things. I mean, too many times to count, I drove drunk. Don't remember how I got home. At this point, my daughter was basically living full-time with my mom, because I was going out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if I wasn't going to the pool hall, I was going into Hartford to the clubs with friends. And when I drank, I never drank socially. I was going to black out. Like, there were pre-drinks to the drinking. So my friends would come over, my friends would come over, and we would get our to-go cups, you know, our travel mugs, and fill those up for the ride to the bar. And, you know, we'd have a few before we even left. And then it was bad. It was really, really bad. Even before that, I started drinking with my brother. My brother is a recovered alcoholic. I mean, I guess I'm a recovered alcoholic. I never went into treatment. He did. But, and he's the most amazing brother on the face of the earth, let me tell you. He did. I didn't. But no one ever labeled me as an alcoholic, but I was. When you're doing things that you would not normally do, when you're putting yourself into harm, I mean, with anything that you do, and putting yourself into harm, doing things you wouldn't normally do, doing things you can look back on and go, oh gosh, that was dangerous, or wow, I'm ashamed of that, or whatever, with any sort of substance or relationship or whatever, it doesn't matter, you know, what you're addicted to. You could be addicted to food, you could be addicted to a relationship, you could be addicted to, you know, I mean, you could be addicted to a religion. You could be addicted to, I mean, there's so many things that, you know, you can be addicted to. When you take something so far, it's just crazy. And let me just be clear. When I say religion, I don't mean like, you know, I'm talking extreme. I mean, I believe we should give everything to the Lord. You know, I tithe every single month. I tithe sometimes more than once a month. And, you know, and that doesn't make me a better Christian or a worse Christian. I mean, you know, it's in the Bible that, you know, 10% we should give. And, you know, if the Lord gives us everything, what is 10% to us? You know what I mean? Like, that's the least. He died on the cross for us. He gave up his life for us. So, and he suffered immeasurably that we can't even imagine. So, like, what is 10%? I know when we look at our finances, it seems like a lot, and it really does. And I'll be honest with you, I don't tithe 10% of my finances. I don't tithe. I bring in $1,400 a month, and I don't tithe $140 every month. I don't. It's just something like I need that $140. And so am I being obedient to the Lord? I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I guess according to the Bible, no, I'm not. But the Lord knows my heart. And, you know, when there are days that I am, or months that I'm well off, and there's extra or whatever the deal is, I will tithe more. And that's like, so that's why I say I don't just tithe once a month. Point being is that I kind of got off track there, but yeah, so I don't, but sometimes when I watch a sermon, I'll tithe more. Like, if that sermon really touched me and I just felt really fed, I will tithe again. I just got into a bunch of, I'm going to try to keep it as short as I possibly can. It's not going to be short, but I got into it was a string of relationships full of guys that needed saving, needed help, needed saving, turned out to just always treat me horrible. I was the martyr. And you know what? I used to think a martyr was a good thing. Being a martyr was a good thing. It's not. It's not at all. You know, being a martyr actually in the Bible it's not good. You know, well, being a martyr in the Bible is sort of like you're a martyr. You give so much up for others, but you do it in hopes of getting stuff in return. So, I mean, was I a martyr? Like, no, not really. Because I never did anything looking to get something in return. You know, I mean, unless it was a good relationship or trying to save somebody, if you think of that as getting something in return. But I always did it sort of like out of the goodness of my heart, hoping that, you know, because I was flawed. And so I always felt like, well, what if someone gave up on me throughout my life? I went through that addiction phase for a long time. There was a lot of self-injury. There was a lot of suicidal thoughts. There was, you know, a suicide attempt. feeling very suicidal a lot of the times. Like, and not that I wanted to die, because I didn't. It was just these intrusive thoughts in my head that I just want the pain to stop. I was in pain all the time, emotional pain all the time. And I can really relate to Mary Magdalene in the Bible. I need to order. There's a book that I want to read on Mary Magdalene, because before Mary Magdalene was Mary Magdalene, she was Lilith, and in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and Lilith was a prostitute, basically. And that's kind of what I was, but I didn't get paid for it. So, you know, giving my body to whoever, just to feel what at the time I convinced myself was love, because I felt so horrible about myself. It's like, I just wanted to feel good, even if it was for 10 minutes. You know, I wanted to feel something besides, you know, pain. And in my head, I had convinced myself, I thought I was ugly, I was horrible, I was disgusting. And I mean, I was, you know, I was beautiful, you know. But obviously, everybody in the world can tell you you're beautiful, but when you don't feel beautiful inside, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, I needed to feel needed. I needed to feel desired. I needed to feel loved. And how could I feel that way from anybody else if I didn't feel it for myself? But that's what I was chasing. That's the high that I was chasing. And so I went through, you know, I mean, I slept around, and this is kind of triggering to talk about. So I'm sorry, but, you know, I slept around, and most of the guys too was like, I didn't want to know their name, their age. You know, I didn't care. They served a purpose for me, and that was it. You know, I don't ever want to play that, you know, the numbers game, because I have no idea. Like, a lot of them I don't even remember. A lot of them, once I got sober, I would meet random people in the gas station or something, or bump into them. They're like, Chris, what's up? How's it going? Yada, 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 you know, whatever. And I'd have a whole conversation with them, and, you know, yeah, I'm living on such and such now, and blah, 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 whatever. And I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, bye. And I'd leave, and whoever I was with would be like, who's that? And they'd leave, and whoever I was with would be like, who's that? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, no clue. Absolutely no clue. But I mean, obviously, what can you surmise from that? And I knew it, was that it's probably someone that I had been with, and it's horrible. It's horrible. But that's why I can really relate to Mary Magdalene, because I had not found Jesus. I mean, I've always believed in the Lord. I always have. I mean, you cannot look back on my birth story and not believe in the Lord. Like, there's just no way. So I was raised Catholic, and I went to Catholic church and Catholic schools all the way from middle school all the way through high school. So, you know, I mean, I always believed in the Lord, but I didn't have a relationship with him. Or if I had a relationship with him, I would say, you know, I have my own personal relationship. Or there are times that I would pray, yeah, when I needed something, when I wanted something. It was never prayers of, you know, thank you, Lord, for, you know, everything you've done for me today, or whatever. It was just prayers of desperation, and which is fine. I mean, the Lord understands that. But so then I met, after that, I went through a string of relationships that were, I was an adulteress, because I was not adulterous, because it had happened to me when I had my first boyfriend, and I didn't like how it felt. So when I was in a relationship with somebody, I was absolutely committed to that person. I was not going to sleep around, but other people did. Every single guy did. Every single guy. There was not one before Marin. No, I'm sorry, Mike, Dante's dad was. He was faithful. I think he was. There's some evidence that he wasn't when we were engaged, but there was a breakup in between there, between us getting married and our engagement. And at that point, he was with somebody else. There, I don't have actual physical proof of it, but there's I don't know. It's even like cringy to say, but there's some video tape, not proof in a carnal way, but yeah, there was. So he had been with somebody else, which, you know, I mean, I thought working on our relationship, like I still had my ring and everything, my engagement ring, everything like that, but I had kicked him out until he got himself better. And that was not, you know, permission to go and be with other people. I wasn't with other people, but I don't know. That's what he did, I guess. So anyway, so besides Marin, with me and Marin, it was never an issue. That was never an issue of, you know, infidelity was never an issue. That was not what broke us up. That was not ever an issue. So I did not know. So up until my late 40s, you know, early or mid to late 40s, I had no idea what a what a relationship was without a guy cheating on you. Like, I just didn't know. Or being abusive. So, and I say all that to say that, you know, when Jesus spoke Mary Magdalene's name out loud, you know, did not call her Lilith, and, you know, said, I know you, and touched her, and, you know, said her name. I mean, she was healed, and she was not that person anymore. And, you know, I don't think I had any of those come to Jesus moments. You know, some people have those come to Jesus moments, and then they go on with their life, and everything kind of falls back to normal, their normal. And, you know, I mean, do I think they had those moments? Yeah, but do they keep those moments? No. You know, do they live a Christian lifestyle? Lifestyle? It's not a lifestyle. Like, I mean, I guess you would call it lifestyle. I don't know. I mean, it's just who you are. But I think that, you know, a lot of times people have had those come to God moments, and then they feel wonderful, and then they, you know, slide back in to, you know, our human ways, which is, you know, but they lose hold of their faith. And it's a really hard situation. So it's really hard being in your faith. Whatever your faith is, it's really difficult believing in something with all your heart and your might and just having faith. It's the most difficult thing that I've ever encountered. And I still struggle. Like, I'm not some crazy, you know, perfect Christian, and I'm not saying perfect Christians are crazy, and there are no perfect Christians. So I mean, all the pastors of my church and everybody that I know that, you know, I look up to, they're human beings. Nobody's perfect. So after Marin left, after we split up, I was agoraphobic. I was not leaving my house. It was absolutely horrible. And I was having a lot of panic and anxiety. And I had a friend, Nicole, who is very, very Christian. I mean, very Christian. Very deep-rooted. Her whole family is deep-rooted in their faith and everything. And it's wonderful. But when I say very, I mean very. You know, you've got Christians, and then you got those that, you know, even I, to this day as a Christian, I'm not judging. I say I'm not judging. Am I prefacing me saying I'm not judging by judging? I don't know. But to me, a little overboard, like addicted. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have, you know, the people call, you know, say Bible thumpers or whatever. And when I turned Christian, everyone was like, oh, you're a Bible thumper. Like, if you go on my Facebook, all you're going to see basically is prayer. Either my pictures of me and my kids or prayers, you know, and devotionals. I mean, that's really, there's nothing good on Facebook, and so I just try to fill my page with positivity and prayers and sermons, and if there's one thing that somebody can get from my page that they happen to click on, and it just, you know, gives them a good day or a good moment, or gets them through a day or a moment or whatever, or maybe they have a come to Jesus moment. I don't know, but you know, then that's great. I just, but I don't Bible thump. We're not meant to beat people over the head with the Bible. That's just not Jesus. It was never Jesus's way when Jesus walked the earth. One thing I do have to say, if you have not watched The Chosen, please watch it. It's on, you can find it on YouTube. The first season is on YouTube, or you can download the Chosen app. It is absolutely amazing, and it depicts Jesus and all the disciples, like just in such, I've watched a lot of Christian-based movies and TV shows and series and stuff like that, and they're kind of hokey, and this is really, really, really good. I mean, I've never been so touched by a series or a show or anything in my life than The Chosen, and they're now on season 2, but I would highly suggest it. It really deepened my faith because it let me, it's all biblically based, and they have rabbis on their staff, they have pastors on their staff, they have priests on their staff, so it's all biblically based, and most of the stuff that you see does happen in the Bible, but there are some characters, and there are some, not reoccurring, but there are some characters in some situations that they take creative liberty with. Like, for example, the Apostle Matthew. I don't know what this has to do with my testimony. I'm just talking to you guys like you guys were sitting here, but because I just think it's really important for those of you struggling with your faith. A lot of times we need tools, and this was a tool that really helped me understand my Bible better, because I was able to put, now, do I know that this is what Jesus looks like, or this is what Matthew looks like, or, you know, John looks like? You know, no, of course not. You know, we don't know that. But as human beings, when we can sort of, for me anyway, when I can put a face to a name, it just gives it a whole nother level. So I can picture better now when I'm reading about Matthew in the Bible, for example. It's like I have a picture in my brain, and like I can see his quirkiness, or Thomas, you know what I mean? I can kind of see, because The Chosen has really sort of mapped that out and made these characters, you know, these people, not characters, I mean, they were the apostles, the disciples, but they real. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so my friend Nicole, she would always come over to my house if I was in the middle of a panic attack, and she would pray, and we would pray. You know, and I was at that time, I mean, there was a period in my life where I was grasping at anything. You guys remember my cross wall? And people would say to me, oh, I don't like you. You're pushing, you know, your channel, or you're pushing your religion down my throat. And I would laugh, because I'm like, you don't really know me. Those are art to me. And the crosses have a significance in this story. So, you know, at that time, I was dabbling in a little bit of everything. I mean, if the Buddhism religion worked for me, I would grab whatever worked from that. If, you know, the pagan religion, you know, I would grab something from that. So, you know what, a Hindu religion, I would grab something from that. So I was just kind of grasping at anything. And when you do that, it's like you're never committed to one thing. And I mean, I also have a fascination with religion in general, all religions. I really do. I don't know. It's so weird, but I do. I just find it very fascinating why some people believe one thing and some people believe something else, and what those people believe, and it's just, and how it differs from what I believe, and just the differences and the similarities. So I've always had this fascination. The cross has become significant because at that time, when people were giving me, you know, heck about it on my channel, I was like, you have no idea. Like, I have an altar, I have crystals, I have, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know me. Like, at that point, that was just a work of art. And I mean, do I still think they're works of art? Absolutely. I mean, they're beautiful. But they didn't have the spiritual significance that they do now. So Nicole came over and was praying with me. And she would do it all the time. And she would always say to me, Chris, the Lord is in you. Like, I have never felt a presence so powerful. And I thought she was just being a crazy Christian. You know, I was just sort of like, okay, yep. And she says, no, like, there's something. Like, I pray with you and electricity just runs through my body. Like, there's something that, like, she would basically hold my hand and pray over me, but she, you know, she just said, there's something. And we would do this and do this and do this and do this. And every time, I mean, I would cry, and I'm not going to say I didn't, it always made me feel better in the moment, but it was never a, you know, come to God moment at that point. And we would have conversations too. But she's very extremist. So there were things that she would say that I just couldn't wrap my head around. I couldn't vibe with. And there's probably still some things that, you know, we just don't, and I know there are actually, because we've talked to each other on Facebook about it, and there's things that I'll put up, or she'll put up, and I'll comment something, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything, I'm just sort of like, and she'll take offense to it, or she'll say, you shouldn't have that on your channel, on your page, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that. And you know what, like, my pastor did a sermon the other day about, kind of about finger pointing. And he's like, have you ever seen Jesus once in the Bible point a finger at anybody in a judgmental way? No. So, and I'm not judging her, obviously. Like, I've done it myself. I do it all the time. I point fingers at myself. I point fingers at other people. You should be doing that. You should be, especially in the middle of this pandemic. I mean, give me a break. I'm always pointing fingers. Even if not, I'm not actually doing it. In my head, I am. You know, look at you not wearing a mask, and look at you not doing this or that, or whatever the situation is. You know, it's like, live and let live, and that's, you know, that's their journey. It's not yours. You know, be concerned with yourself. With my family, I'm a little more vocal because it's my family and I love them, and I only want to protect them. But even that, I have trouble laying everything at his feet. That's my biggest thing. But my come to Jesus moment was, she was praying over me one day. And I felt this warmth. It was pitch black out. It was nighttime. It was pitch black out. My shades were open. This was not here. It was at my other place. And she was holding my hand, and the whole time she was praying, I was crying. I was sobbing. I had my eyes closed, but I was sobbing. Like, it was just like, I don't know. I don't know if it was the physical touch. I don't know. I don't know what it was. But all of a sudden, just this I had kind of an out-of-body experience, like this just warmth came over me. And even though my eyes were closed, but everything got bright, got super, super bright. Like someone had, you know, had a flashlight or a spotlight on me, even though my eyes were closed, so you could see. I just felt an immediate peace and an immediate calm. I mean, I was sobbing hysterically, but it's so hard to explain, but because people would talk about, oh, you know, when I had my coming to Jesus moment, like, you know, it was raining and it immediately stopped raining, or you know, there was no wind outside, but my drapes started to blow around, or whatever. And I would always look at those people and go, yeah, okay. Like, you don't know until you know, if you know. It's just one of those situations that if you haven't had that experience, you just haven't had it. And I would always look at those people and go, yeah, okay, woohoo, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But then it happened to me. And for me, it was light. And it was a matter of, like I said, my eyes were closed. Everything was light. And when I opened my eyes, she was talking to me, but I couldn't really hear what she was saying because I was almost out of my body. Like, I was looking around. I looked outside, and my brain, right? So my brain looked outside. I mean, not my brain looked outside, but I looked outside with my human eyes, and my human eyes could see, and my brain was comprehending that it was dark outside. Yet, in my mind, a different part of my mind, maybe the spiritual part of my mind, it looked light. It looked light and it looked sunny. When I looked around my house, every single color looked brighter. It was almost like, you ever have brighter and clearer? You know, anybody who wears glasses, or if you wear contacts, you know, that feeling when your glasses are blurred, you know, like they've got fingerprints all over them. Like, you wear them enough and you just say, you don't really notice it, but sometimes it like really drives you crazy, right? And like, you know, you sit there and this is actually a great analogy. But like when your glasses are dirty, and they say they've been dirty for a long time, your eyes adjust and you don't really know how dirty they are. And so you walk around all day with these dirty glasses, and you're like, you know, sometimes you look at your windows and you're like, oh, I gotta wash my windows, or you look at something, you know what I mean? And you're just, you know, things just look, you know, I mean, they just look normal to you. Or you might get little glimpses of, I can't really see that well, like, what's going on here, you know? Or, but you just don't, you just let it goes in and out. It just goes in and out. And then you clean your glasses, and you put them back on, and everything is crisp, and everything's bright, and everything's like, you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, now I can see. And, you know, I mean, it just brings me back to, you know, once I was blind, now I can see. And that's really kind of what it felt like, is that just everything was brighter. I mean, it was brighter, and it was crisper. And she was talking to me, but I was just taking this all in, because I was sort of like, at this point, I just kind of started to, you know what I mean? Like, do that kind of breathing. Like, I just sort of was like, my hands kind of felt heavy, but like a nice, peaceful, sort of relaxed. Whereas before I was sobbing and everything like that, it just, all of a sudden, it was just this whole wave of release, and everything was brighter and lighter. And like, if it didn't happen to me, I would still be going, okay, yep, cuckoo, you know? And that was my come to Jesus moment. And from that day forward, I just went in with both feet and never looked back. I mean, I didn't find my church until a couple months later, because I was about to move, I think, at that point. So it wasn't until right before I had moved into this place, I found my church. And I was just another God moment. Like, yes, okay, that was my come to Jesus moment. But I didn't go out and buy a Bible. Sorry, I have a vaccine buddy a friend of mine who, he got his vaccine the day after me. So I got vaccinated yesterday, and he got vaccinated today. So he's like, we can hang out together. And I'm like, yep, soon. But anyway, but I didn't go out and buy a Bible. I didn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, I still wasn't looking for, I just felt a release in myself. There was no doubt in my belief of the Lord. There was no doubt in anything like that anymore. I immediately kind of started to make changes in my life. Like, I stopped swearing, and I just felt compelled to. It wasn't something that, it just, to me, it's a habit, and it's a bad habit. It's not something that I need to do. And so in fact, it makes me uncomfortable. And when other people swear, it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not going to tell other people you can't swear around me, but it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, I started to not really watch TV the way I used to. Things that I used to watch, I just started not watching. And I mean, I still watch secular stuff. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not, you know, I mean, Teen Mom, I think, is like my, you know, a binge show. The Kardashians is a binge show. I'm just finishing up the last couple episodes, I think, of Shameless before that season's over. And that is certainly not, that's definitely secular television. But I mean, you know, I do. I mean, I still watch. It's not that I don't. I mean, we're not like, we don't become perfect human beings, or like all we watch is, I mean, there might be people out there that do. I don't really know of any. But I really try to, just for my own mental health though, too. Like, it just, everything changed. Like, it's like, I wanted to hold on to that feeling so bad. I mean, this is something too, this is a vice that I have to give up. It's just not something that, I mean, do I think personally this is bad for me? No. But is this an addiction for me? Yes. So, is it a physical addiction? No, I don't think it is. You know, there's plenty of times I leave the house without this and I don't have, you know, an issue. I mean, especially like when I'm working. I mean, you know, when I'm home, I chain vape. But, I mean, it's something that I would like to get rid of. It's something that I enjoy it a lot. You know, I'm wasting a lot of money on, you know, that could be spent, you know, I could be giving it to the church, or I could be, you know, saving it, or whatever the deal is. But I wanted to hold on to that feeling so bad that I started to make little changes in my life. And then I found Elevation Church, and they're a mega church. And I'll say that, and you guys in the comments, if you guys want to say that, oh, mega churches are you know, they're hoax, they're whatever. You can say whatever you want, and you're not going to convince me, because my church is amazing. The worship team is amazing. The family camaraderie is amazing. I serve on 4 teams. I volunteer with the church, 4 teams, and yeah, you can do it online. I mean, throughout the whole pandemic, they did not shut down. They found a way. They kept it, you know, online, and they have many campuses, and they have resources for children, and they have resources for teens, and they have, you know, I lead an e-group when we do sermon discussion over Zoom, and, you know, so it's a church that I had never been to. It's like something I've never been to before, never experienced before, because I mean, in the Catholic Church, it was like, give us your money, and then we're going to condemn you for all the things you've done wrong. Like, I couldn't get married in a Catholic church because I had a child out of wedlock. I've been divorced twice. I can't get married in a Catholic church. So, you know, but this church is so not like that. It's just not. So I found my home. And what was weird about it is I was scrolling through beauty videos. Like, I was scrolling through beauty videos, and Pastor Stephen Furtick, who is the main pastor, there's different pastors for each campus, but he's the founder and the main, we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary of the church, but he's the main pastor, and his wife, Holly. I mean, they're such amazing people. I mean, our church gives, I don't mean to be upping my church, but, because I mean, there's a lot of churches out there that just do amazing, amazing things, but Elevation's one of them. I mean, we give millions and millions of dollars through this pandemic to churches that were going to have to shut their doors because they didn't have what we have. And so it was, you know, we have given, and I say we because I tithe. That's one of the reasons I tithe. Yes, I know I tithe to the church. I tithe because it's a commandment, but I tithe, or I mean, it's in the Bible, but I tithe because I'm trying to help the church so the church can help others. So, I mean, Samaritan's Purse, they always partner with Samaritan's Purse for any natural disaster. They're out there, all hands on deck. They're giving money. They're, you know, whatever the situation is. They've sent me money when in my times of need throughout this pandemic. But more so than that, it's just a family and a community. And so the funny thing was, like I was saying, is that it was beauty videos. And a Pastor Stephen sermon popped up, and I was like, huh. The thumbnail just kind of grabbed me or something, or the title. And in fact, I think it was the thumbnail and the title, but it was called The Lazarus Factor. And I'm sure those of you who, you know, are Catholic or Christian or whatever, like, you know who Lazarus was in the Bible. You know, Lazarus died. You know, they told them, hey, you know, your friend is dying. Come save him, to Jesus. And Jesus didn't come. And Lazarus died. And when they got there, when he got to Lazarus 3 days later, they said, you know, why didn't you come? And, you know, you could have saved him. And he basically said, it's not, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, you know, it's not over. And he raised Lazarus from the dead. And it was, I mean, it wasn't just telling the story about it, but it was really, it was something that I needed to hear in that moment about life renewal and everything like that. And I mean, from that day, I was hooked. I binged on Elevation sermons. And even now, every Sunday, I cannot wait. And I just dove in head first with Elevation. I immediately signed up to volunteer once I knew a little bit more. At first, I was just watching it online. I was just watching the sermons. And then I would join the Facebook groups and stuff like that and everything. And like, once I realized like what a church this was, like how I could participate. They're in North Carolina. I'm in Connecticut, but I can participate and I can be part of the church and I can be, you know what I mean? And they would send little gifts and, you know, stuff like that. And it's like and I serve on like the welcome team. It's like, we welcome the people who raise their hand for Christ. You just to know, nobody ever did that for me in the Catholic Church, ever. They had no problem taking my check. And I'm not condemning any church, but a lot of people, even within Elevation, still, I mean, have problems with, I gotta take this down. This looks horrible. Have problems with tithing. Like, they just don't understand. And it's not just tithing your money, it's tithing your time, tithing your, that made it better, Chris. Tithing your time, tithing your, when I'm serving the Lord and I'm serving on an E-team, it's called, you know, an E-team, like, you know, elevation group or elevation, you know, EFAM is, you know, electronic family kind of, you know. It's like you're not in physical, but you're virtual. So virtual family. Anyway, I mean, we're still physical family, but, you know, but when I'm serving him with my teams that I serve on, and when I'm doing my e-groups and everything like that, or I sit down and I do a Bible study or a book study, or, you know, whatever the situation is, it's like I'm tithing my time. I keep a gratitude journal every day and every night, and I've gone through like 5 of them. So, but as you can see here, like I have all this stuff written, and this is my morning, and my morning started over here, but as you can see, you know what I mean? Like, it's morning and night. You know, when I wake up, these are prayers and thoughts of gratitude and thanking the Lord. And then at night, I do the same thing for whatever my day held or whatever the situation is. And so, like, if I can't give him that time out of my day when he puts breath in my body every single day, that's just wrong. To me, I'm sorry. That's my thoughts, my feelings. And again, I'm doing this disclaimer really late, but you guys wanted to know. But, you know, these are my thoughts and my feelings and my personal experiences, is that even though I cannot tithe, and I think this was what's kind of started me with volunteering, was because I could not tithe as much monetarily as I wanted to, then I started tithing in a way. And you know, there are pastors in my church that will say, that's not tithing, that's giving an offering. Like, it's different. It's doing a good work. That's different than a tithe. And I mean, I understand that too. My point being is that was my come to Jesus moment. The bright lights, even though it was bright lights in the pitch dark. And you know what? Like, that's really what's gotten me through. My church has gotten me through. The Lord, not my church, yes, my church family and the Lord have gotten me through this pandemic. I don't know if I would, I mean, I would still probably be on this earth, but I would be in a mental hospital if not for my faith and my church family. So that is like my coming to Jesus moment, and that is my testimony, and that is my religion. If you have any questions that I didn't answer about it, post them in the comments, and I'll certainly answer you in the comments. And as usual, guys, please be nice. This was a question that somebody wanted to know. And so, please, you know, be kind. I love you guys very much. I love you guys very much. I hope everybody's staying safe. If you choose to get vaccinated, I hope you're getting vaccinated. I hope everything's going well for you. I love you all so much. Seeing your, a lot of you guys have changed your, you've changed your channel names though. So please, like, if you've been with me for a long time, please put in the comments, like, your name so that I know I can go, oh, okay. Cause like I saw Kim post today and she's never changed her name. So I was like, oh, okay. But a lot of you guys have like changed your name to something else, to channel names or something. And so I don't know specifically who I'm talking to. So please let me know who you are in the, you know, in the comment. And if you have any other comments, post them below, guys. Thank you so much an hour later for listening to my story and my testimony. And I love you guys. And if you guys have a testimony or if you have any prayer requests, please post them in the comments, because I would be happy. I'd be honored and blessed to pray for you. So I love you guys.